Welcome to A Meaningful Marketplace.
I'm Sarah Masoni from Oregon State University's Food Innovation Center, where I've helped countless dreamers launch their new food products. It's the science of taking a food delight from the kitchen to mass manufacturing and still keeping its great taste. That's what I do. I've been called the woman with the $1 million palate, although I haven't tried to cash that check yet. Listen in weekly for real-life stories.
I'm Sarah Marshall, owner of Marshall's Hot Sauce and author of Preservation Pantry, modern canning from root to top and stem to core. I love inspiring business owners to get started on their journey, encourage folks to be part of their local community, and I'm excited to help business owners tell their stories. Hello and welcome to Masoni and Marshall, the Meaningful Marketplace. We are here weekly to discuss the journeys of food entrepreneurs. We are glad that you have joined us today as we bring you stories of hope and inspiration. This is Sarah Marshall, owner of Marshall's Hot Sauce. Sarah Masoni is still off summer adventuring. She's been camping this week, but she will be back next week to join us. I did want to tell you about some Portland food news. So the Portland Summer Night Market is coming up in July. So if people want to come support local small businesses, there'll be all kinds of vendors and food makers there. And then the 25th anniversary of the Food Innovation Center is coming up. So if people are interested in coming to that, you can find information at the Oregon State University. Look for Food Innovation Center, and you can come hang with Sarah Masoni and I. We will both be there. Well, we have been partnering with the Regional Food Business Center to bring you guests from the 6-state region. We're currently meeting business owners from the great state of Idaho. And I would like to welcome our co-host, Katie Baker from FARE Idaho. They are advocating for policies that support small businesses. Katie, welcome. Thank you for being our Idaho expert.
Thank you so much for having me tonight. I appreciate it.
I'm super excited to hear about what you do at FARE Idaho because I had never heard about the organization until I looked you up, and it sounds really awesome. So tell us what you do there.
Yeah, so FARE Idaho is an acronym for Food, Agriculture, Restaurants, and Establishments. We are a nonprofit that started in March of 2020 when the pandemic hit, and a lot of independent businesses were struggling. So we founded a nonprofit. It is a trade association, and we advocate on behalf of independent food and beverage businesses. And we are the first nonprofit of our kind that I was able to find that is structured around the local food system. So we represent small farmers, ranchers, independent food and beverage producers, and restaurants and grocers. And that includes your farmers markets and your co-ops and independent grocery stores.
What a great organization and fun place to work. I'm sure you get to interact with all kinds of cool makers and people. Any fave job duties you do?
Well, I founded the nonprofit in March of 2020. I recently stepped back. So right now I decided to take on the role for the Northwest and Rocky Mountain Food Business Center. So FARE Idaho is a co-lead in partnership with University of Idaho. And so that's my role.
That's so cool. And that's how you made your way to us because we are learning all about the Regional Food Business Center. And so it's so exciting that we get to be on this call together today and interview our Idaho guests. Do you have any Idaho food news or any events you'd like to tell our listeners about?
That's a great question. I know, well, FARE Idaho hosts every year a Field to Fork Festival. This year it'll happen in February of 2025, and we kind of take over the Jump building in downtown Boise and just really highlight all our small independent producers. A lot of restaurants, chefs come to the event, so it's a little bit of a trade fair. And then also we do chef-led classes and panel discussions, really talking about issues or opportunities within the food system. So off the top of my head, I know we have that going on, but things tend to slow down in the summer months because farmers are busy.
We understand that for sure. Well, cool. We'll put a link in so people can find out about that event and hopefully attend if they're there in Idaho. So we would like to encourage you to connect with your state by signing up for the Regional Food Business Center newsletter. It's a breeze to sign up. You just go to the Northwest Rocky Mountain Regional Food Business Center.com, hit connect with us, and choose the button to receive newsletters. And we want to thank our sponsor for supporting Masoni and Marshall. Thank you for helping us to spread the word for small business owners and entrepreneurs. Let's hear a word from our sponsor. The Northwest and Rocky Mountain Regional Food Business Center is the proud sponsor of the Meaningful Marketplace podcast, giving a voice to food from across the 6-state region of Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, Washington, and Wyoming. The Food Business Center supports Northwest and Rocky Mountain food industry makers as part of the USDA's National Network of Food Business Centers, supporting a more resilient, diverse, and competitive food system as a go-to source for small and mid-tier food and farm businesses with a focus on underserved communities, providing education in the form of technical knowledge, business programs, and industry news. We sponsor trade shows, meetups, and conferences to connect growers, producers, retailers, distributors, and processors, all to stimulate business and raise the standards of our storied food industry. Join us as we travel through the 6-state region, learning more about food makers, food hubs, and food systems. Visit the website at Northwest Rocky Mountain Regional Food Businesses.com to get connected. I would like to introduce you to our guest, Travis Ballard. He is the co-owner of Ballard Cheese, making cheese in Gooding, Idaho. Travis, we're delighted to have you with us today.
Delighted to be here.
We like to connect our listeners to you and give them the best way to follow your story. Can you tell us how they would find you on social media and online?
Ballard Cheese Instagram, and then online ballardcheese.com.
Perfect. We'll make sure that they can link up and find you. So let's start at the beginning of when you started your business and what inspired you to start a cheese company.
So we started the cheese plant in 2004. We had a dairy. My parents started it in 98. We were looking to add value to the business and try to do something a little different in size of the dairy, and maybe hopefully control the end product a little better than what you can as just a dairy. And we finished it and started producing cheese in 2004. That's about it. I mean, it started out with just one little cheese vat. I think we could make, it was like 2,500 pound vat. That's where we started.
And I always like to ask our makers, because you do all kinds of cheese. You do cheese curds, Gouda, grilling cheeses. What kind of cheese do you think tells your family story best?
You know, we started with curds, was what we started with because it's a fresh product and it was easy to get out. Probably still one that we sell quite a bit of them. But the grilling cheese is something that we've kind of really managed to kind of make it our own. I think all of them tell a little bit about us, but I think those two definitely are kind of why we're here today, you know.
Go ahead, Katie.
I just have to say that the halloumi, the grilled cheese, is to die for. I highly recommend it. We get that almost every other weekend. It's a staple in our house, and it's just the best around. So, Travis, you're doing good work.
Thank you.
It definitely stands out even when you go to your website. You don't see a lot of grilling cheeses. And so it was the first one that I saw. So I was hoping we were going to be able to talk about it. For people that haven't had grilling cheese, can you tell them how they would prepare it or what they would do?
We pan sear it on a non-stick pan. It seems to work the best. You can do it on like a stainless steel or cast iron. You just have to do maybe a little olive oil to get it going, but so it doesn't stick. But it doesn't really melt at all, and you just pan sear it up and eat it. But it also goes good with anything else. Like it takes on flavors pretty well, so you could add any kind of spice or whatever, and it'll kind of pull that in, and it's a pretty fun product to use and consume.
Katie, how does your family use it?
So what we do, especially on the days that the farmers market is happening, we pick it up and then we come home, we fry it up in a pan with some eggs and shishito peppers and a little bit of Chicana salsa. That's another maker down at the farmers market. It makes your day brighter.
That sounds like a great way to start the day for sure. Well, Travis, of your other cheeses that you make, let's kind of tell people what it would be like if they went on your website and they ordered cheese from you. How would they get it? And then what would it taste like? Let's pick a different cheese other than the grilling cheese.
How would they? You would get it shipped out to you. We make a pretty nice aged cheddar right now. It's about 2 years old. I think it's called vintage white cheddar on the website. it's not an acidy flavor. It has a nice, nutty, creamy, sharp flavor to it. It's probably one of my favorites to sit and eat. And then we also make a sea salt and truffle cheddar. That's a pretty good one too. And I guess something a little more unique for us is we call it Parmerano, because it's kind of a parm make, but we add lipase to it, which would be leaning towards Romano, and it's a harder cheese. So it's actually really good, grated. It adds just a bunch of flavor. It's definitely a stronger cheese, and it's pretty good.
It sounds awesome. All your cheeses sound really good. When people are trying to decide what cheeses to get, I know if Sarah Masoni was on the call now, because she's a cheese judge, she would ask you about like the textures of your cheeses, because that's how she judges a lot of them, is the texture, she like the mouth feel. What's your favorite texturally of your cheeses?
I don't know. It just depends on what you're doing. I think most of our cheese probably runs a little drier than what you traditionally would get, but I do feel like most of our stuff, it has like a creamy, I don't know. I think the body and the feel of it is nice.
Mm-hmm.
The grilling cheese is like, especially right after you grill it, it's almost like chewy and squeaky.
I like when cheese is an interactive experience. Have you entered your cheese in any food awards?
Yeah. We haven't done as many as we used to. When we first started, we used to do a lot of them, but I guess you just get busy as you get bigger and busier, and you don't do them as much. But we used to do ACS every year. I think for the first like 10 years we were in business, and we won. I think we won a couple times in the flavored cheddar category. So we won, I think, a first and a second in those two category. In that category, we won. I think we won. Our white cheddar won in like a medium or something, and then but this was back in like 2006, maybe 7, somewhere in there. And then the grilling cheese did win in the farmstead category. That was back in maybe 08 or something. I don't know. It's been a while. And then there's a IMPA, and we do enter in that. We've won a couple different times, and we've won a couple grand champions in that competition. And then we've won in Utah. We did a cheese contest in Utah, and I mean, we've done a lot of them. It's been a lot of years, so we've entered in all over, and we've done good. So
I always tell people that there's a lot of hot sauce competitions, and I only entered one my first year of business, and I got first place, and then I was like, I never need to enter again, and I didn't, because I do think it takes a lot of time and energy to do those kinds of things. And so it's kind of like it serves as a purpose. Some people love it and they want to enter them all the time, but I just was kind of like, meh, I'm done.
It's a tough thing. I mean, you're putting yourself out there to get critiqued by your peers in a sense, and that's not necessarily a fun thing. So sometimes, I mean, it's great when you put a product out and it wins first place or even second or third place, it's winning, and that's great. But when you walk away with nothing and you sent a bunch of product, it stings a little bit. It's not as fun. So
Sarah Masoni one time said that it's really good for especially beginning, she judges cheese and ice cream, beginning cheesemakers and ice cream makers to enter in a lot of contests, because you will get a lot of feedback from people that will help you to improve your product. So maybe if you don't have the money to necessarily pay for a lot of that kind of market research, and to have somebody do it, that's a good way to do it. So it's good advice for her. Katie, are there a lot of cheesemakers in Idaho?
There's a growing number. I think I look at the farmers markets, but there's producers in northern Idaho too, probably not at the same size as Ballard, and they've been established for quite a while, but there definitely is some up and coming cheesemakers that are doing different things. And I think there's a farmer in the area that's actually hosting a cheese making course in August. And so it's a small class group, but I think there's a growing number of people interested in the art of cheese making. But yeah.
Yeah. Fun. It seems like I used to share a kitchen with a cheesemaker, and I always think it's a really fun job. She just did goat cheese though, and had her own goats. Travis, where does your milk come from for your cheeses?
So we used to produce all of it here until about 2 years ago, and we sold all our cows, and we now buy it from our neighbor. They're literally 2 miles down the road, probably not even that far. They milk about 400 jerseys, all 100% Jersey, just like we were. And they're still a pretty small producer, and it kind of helped them out and helped us out at the time when we did it. And they do a really good job and have a nice quality milk. And so it just ended up kind of working out that way. So I'm glad that they're just right down the road and it's easy to go pick it up. And we actually pick it up in our own truck. We don't have anybody else go and do it. We have a little truck and we just go down there and pick it up every manufacturing day.
I think for aspiring cheesemakers out there, that's really a good thing to hear, is that you don't necessarily have to be producing your own milk, but if there are people by you that that you can get it from and that you can help them by taking their milk, and you don't have to be a farmer and a food producer. Sometimes it takes a little bit of the weight off because it's a lot to do it all.
Definitely. It was definitely a lot for a long time.
Well, you do the farmers market in Boise. How far away is that from Gooding?
So it's about an hour, 20 minutes to the market from the plant.
That's a pretty far commute for the farmers market, is it?
I don't know. I think at the Boise Farmers Market, there's a lot of people that are commuting just as far from the other side of from Oregon coming into, or from the edge, right up there, Ontario, Fruitland, and they're coming in, and there's definitely people that are really close, but all of us you're coming in from the farming side of it. So it's usually a little ways.
Yeah. Katie, you've been to the Boise Farmers Market, right?
Yeah, that's my grocery store.
That's where you go to shop.
Yep, and then my backyard too. So we have a large garden, but the farmers market is a great scene. It's an opportunity to support local producers, and you have the ability to get to know your farmer, which is really critical, or your food producer.
And so you have clearly shopped at Travis's booth before. Have you guys met?
Well, Travis, I've definitely met his parents, and I actually used to work for a small cooperative. And so we have worked with Ballard cheese for a long time. Ballard cheese is actually a member of FARE Idaho, but I have gotten samples from Travis, but I have not introduced myself.
Oh, well, Katie and Travis meet each other.
There you go. Yeah.
How will be old buddies when I go down there?
Yeah. Well, at the next farmers market, you should totally meet Travis. Do you go do the farmers market, or does somebody else in your fam do it?
I've done it this year. I haven't had to do it for the last couple of years. My parents have been stuck doing it. So,
yeah.
But we've done it on and off since 2006, I think was the first one we went to. And, it's work. It's great. We like doing it. We love, being able to keep in contact with our customers. And, that's probably the main reason we do it, is to really we sample a lot at the farmers market, and that's our goal, is to really just meet people and we use that as a great, just a marketing, to really push our product to the consumer. And there's definitely a lot of great people that come by every single week. They know exactly what they want. Most of the time they don't even sample, they just walk up, and I usually try to remember their face and get them what they want and get them out of there so they can keep shopping. So
yeah, farmers market shoppers are the best. Katie, did you have a question for Travis?
Yeah, Travis, I was just curious. So how did you get involved in the business, and how's it been going since you've taken over as co-owner? Did parents pass
so
it on?
I've always been involved. I was here from the beginning. I've actually ran the cheese plant side, the actually manufacturing, since about 2005, and we started in 2004. And my dad, we made cheese together, and then he eventually went out and just dealt with the animals, because that's pretty much what he really likes to do. And then I dealt with the cheese plant side. So I've pretty much made everything since 2005 on. Yeah. So I've always been here. I just kind of been like that silent. I let them go out and talk usually, but they're getting to the point where they're ready to kind of move on. So I'm having to do probably a little more. And we've gotten to the point where I have a couple ladies in the plant that do a really good job. So I'm not having to be so hands-on in there as I used to be. And I'm able to do some of the other stuff that goes on around here.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to hear a little bit more about the cheese making process. So William will be right back.
Oregon State University's College of Agricultural Sciences and the Food Innovation Center are proud sponsors of Meaningful Marketplace. With a mission to serve all Oregonians, we are committed to giving voice to those whose food and agricultural stories are not always heard. By providing access and opportunity for a more diverse and just food system, because food brings people together.
Welcome back from our break, and I just want to let people know that there's a really cool video that you can watch of Travis and his family making cheese, and you can hear some of the origin story. You can watch it. There's a link on their website you can watch, or you can go to YouTube, and we'll put the link in the show notes so you guys can watch it. So Travis, I just want to hear a little bit about your favorite part of cheese making, and if you just want to walk our listeners through what it's like to make cheese in your facility.
So we start with fresh milk that we pick up. We put it into our vat pasteurizer, which takes a little bit of time, but it's a lower temp pasteurization. And after it's pasteurized, we pump it into our open cheese vats. We add our starter culture. We ripen it, I guess, for about 30-ish minutes. And then we'll add our rennet and we'll stir that in and let it set for about 30 minutes and we'll cut. We will, depending on the cheese, start stirring and cooking. And so that at that point, it would be in like the curds and whey form, kind of a little curd about 3/8 by 3/8 floating around in whey. You cook that up to about 100 degrees and it would be there in there for a couple hours ish. And then you would drain it. And so you would separate your curds from your whey. And then at that point, if we were doing cheddar, we would start cheddaring. And there's a bunch of different ways people stack. Some people just roll the blocks. So we roll them and they look about like a size of a bread loaf or a loaf of bread. And we roll those for about 2 hours. You're measuring the pH or TA the whole time. And when it actually gets to a point that like 40 TA, we mill it. And then once it's milled, you would add, cheddar is a dry salt cheese, so you would dry salt it. You would have, basically at that stage, you would have your cheese curds. You pull those out and we bag them up as a fresh cheese curd. Or if you wanted, you could put those in a hoop and press those overnight. And then you would have the starts of a block of cheddar. And then depending on what age you would want it or how you made it to age out, you could age it out for, I don't know, as long as you wanted. As long as you dried your moisture down enough, then that's it. You have a block of cheddar, depending on whenever you wanted to pull it out of the cooler.
It's such a cool process. I don't know if either of you have ever been to the Tillamook Cheese Factory in Oregon, but that's like our closest kind of place that we can go and watch cheese being made. And so, most kids in Oregon grow up being able to see the process, which is very cool. Can people ever come and watch you make cheese, Travis?
Yeah, there's big windows in our plant, so you can look right into the facility. So the idea was to do more of that kind of stuff, and hopefully in the future we're able to do that more. We do have people come by. I bet somebody comes out here every day at least, and stops by and either buys some cheese or looks inside the plant. And we only process 2 days a week, Mondays and Wednesdays, our actual manufacturing days, and then the rest of the days are spent packaging and getting orders out.
Very cool. Katie, does that inspire you to go visit the cheese facility? How far are you from Travis's space?
Well, a little over an hour for me. I'm in Boise proper, so
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I definitely enjoy that process. I think we have a lot to learn, and then also we get to see how cheese is made and hopefully attempt it at home and see how it turns out. On a lot smaller scale though.
Yeah, it's always inspiring for home cheesemakers, and I think for kids, I think, just being able to inspire people to cheese making is quite magical. I mean, you're taking something solid or I mean something liquid and you're turning it into something solid. So it's like a very easy way to impress children, I feel like.
Or adults.
Yeah, everybody. I think I'm just saying children because I think about my first experiences going to the cheese factory and I was just like, wow, this is so cool. I feel like it's part of what made me a food maker. And my child is over here in the background being like, yeah, she loves cheese and watching people make things. Well, Travis, we always like to talk a little bit about packaging. We talked about your manufacturing process. Is there a specific way that you package cheese and your branding and logo? Has it changed over time?
Packaging for us, we do vacuum pack bags. As far as keeping it from, it just seems to be the best way for us. We used to try, I remember when we first started, we put cheese curds in tubs and little plastic tubs with lids and stuff. And the shelf life on them is horrible. And as a manufacturer, you're trying to put something out and have it as much as it's not, you want to try to keep it on the shelf as long as possible, right? So that stores will buy it and bad within 2 weeks. You want to try to keep it out there and have some shelf life to it. So we found the vacuum pack bags work the best for us. Honestly, that's about probably our only option. So, and we also sell it in bulk blocks, and then other people can cut it and sell it in their delis or whatever.
Yeah, that's great. I didn't really think about the wholesale side of it, like selling it to bigger manufacturers. Do you do a lot of wholesale?
We do a lot of wholesale, as in it goes to restaurants and stuff, and some delis and stuff too. And then we do a lot of retail packaging for stores, Winco and Albertsons, and in the Boise area. Anyways, we don't really sell out of the Boise area and the Twin area. So we're really in Idaho and besides things we ship online, and then we do sell to distribution, but that mostly just it's pretty much stays in Idaho and goes to restaurants and stores.
Do you find it exciting when you see your cheese on a restaurant menu?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I love when a new restaurant is using our sauce, and so we kind of make it a team outing to go there and all eat. Our friend just opened a breakfast burrito shop, and we made a specific sauce for their breakfast burritos, and it was like, yeah, let's all go and like have the burritos, and it's just still so exciting when that happens every time.
Yeah, definitely. Even after the farmers market, we try to always go to a restaurant that we know of that serves our cheese. So we always try to go to one of them after the market so we can have some lunch and just try to support those guys because we appreciate it. And
I love that.
Definitely. It's always feels good.
It's such a good way to support your community and interact and just show each other love. I always say that the small business owner, our money is very circular. So when we, spend our money, we want to give it to other people who do things like us. We want to go support their business, and then they will usually do the same. The same people that I go eat lunch at, they'll come to the farmer's market next day and buy my hot sauce, and it just kind of like goes around in a circle. And I love that you and your family are doing that as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Katie, have you ever had Travis's cheese at any of the restaurants in your area?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we eat at a lot of restaurants that actually feature Ballard cheese. And for our family, when we're spending our dollar at a restaurant, we would like to support local as much as possible. I mean, you can't do it every time, but if most of your dollars go to those restaurants really supporting our local community, food community, then I think that's a great way to give back. And then plus the food just tastes better.
Yeah, made with love, and you're supporting your people. I think it's just such a great way to do it. Well, Travis, a lot of our listeners are other makers and entrepreneurs, so we like to ask if you have any advice for people that are currently dreaming up a business.
I don't know, it's tough. We've been very fortunate to get to where we are today. So, and starting out was it's a long road, but there's definitely great people along the way, and there's always somebody, especially at farmers markets or even out and about at like ACS was a great place for people to help you out and get going. I recommend, I mean, if you're starting out in the cheese world, to definitely at least go to an ACS convention, because there's a lot of people doing kind of the same thing you are, and most of those people are willing to help. So we always try, when people come here and ask us about manufacturing cheese or whatever, we always try to help them out and give them all our ins and outs and do's and don'ts. And I mean, it's up to them if they do it or don't do it. But it's there's definitely some big learning curves along the way. So,
well, I think it's lovely you're willing to give other people advice if they ask for it. It's always good to create a good supportive cheese community. Katie, do you have any advice for local makers that are thinking about starting up a business in Idaho?
Well, one thought that I had with Travis, or just a question, I guess, is how critical has it been with your engagement with farmers markets, like the Boise Farmers Market, for example?
I think it really helped. I mean, at the time, back when we started it, it was a different world too. I mean, 20 years ago, you could walk into a store and talk to somebody and be like, "Hey, can I get my stuff on your shelf?" And you didn't have to have a third party audit and all this traceability and all that stuff, which is, I think all that stuff's pretty good, but it really hinders when you're small, because those stores require it no matter what, right? It doesn't matter if you're big, small, or indifferent, they just require it. So even though you don't have to abide by those, you still have to do it if you want to sell to those people, right? And in the cheese world, you don't make a lot of money off of making cheese. You have to sell quite a bit of it, right? And you had to, I mean, I remember at ACS, they told me you had to be at least processing 5,000 pounds of milk in a shop, kind of worth your while, right? That's not saying that you can't do it and go to the farmer's market and just sell it at the farmer's market and enjoy making cheese and enjoy selling it at the farmer's market. That's totally cool. And you can do that. But started it, it was the goal to help our dairy at the time. And so we were always trying to strive to get to a point that it was able to do that. So at the time when we did the farmers market, one, we were fortunate to go out and be able to sell to, and two, it was changing back then, and the farmers market did help us out a lot. But I also think the farmers market helped downtown Boise a lot at that time. So that capital city market in downtown, before they, now there's two markets. There's one that's kind of more food driven, and then the other one that's kind of more like art driven, I guess. Yeah, I think the farmers market helped us out a lot. We still do it because I think it's a great way to connect with people and talk to people and get your product out there to hopefully people that haven't tried it before. And that's farmers market events are the way you do that. So at least for us.
Yeah, that's my favorite part about doing farmers markets as well, is being able to connect to those people at the market and see how they experience the things that I make and, that I come up with my family. And so I always find a lot of joy there. What brings you the most joy in your business, Travis?
Somebody hasn't tried it and they put it in their mouth and they just tell the look on their face that they enjoyed it and that it was a very good flavor to them. And that's great. It's great to share. It's great to share food. Everybody loves to, have a barbecue, and everybody loves the food you make. So it's kind of the same thing when you're in the food processing business. I think is you're trying to make a great product that everybody enjoys and puts a smile on their face when they eat it. So.
We all love to get joy from the food we make and from the people that make it. And Travis and Katie, thank you so much for joining us today and being part of the story. It was great to hear about things that are going on in Idaho and at the Boise Farmers Market.
Thanks for having us.
We want to thank you for listening to our show. We love our food community and want to connect with you in person and online. If you have questions for Sarah and Sarah, you can reach out on our Instagram at Meaningful Marketplace Podcast. We record Meaningful Marketplace Podcast live every week. You can find us on your favorite podcast platforms like iTunes, Spotify, and now on YouTube. We would like to thank our team at the Joy of Creation Production House. Thank you for helping us tell the stories of food entrepreneurs. If you want to be a guest on the show, you can send us an email at booking@joyofcreation.com. Until next week, thank you for joining, everybody. Bye.